Well, it was a typical finals game of footy. Richmond really got out of the blocks well, and Carlton were able to keep persisting, and a couple of terrific individual efforts, and some of their champions really stood up in the back half of the game and helped get them over the line. So it was a terrific game of footy to watch in front of a massive crowd, and it was interesting the first half. You're obviously not sure who's going to win the game, but the way that Carlton came out the second half and played so well was a real credit to them, and we know they're a quality team. Yeah, he was sensational. His third quarter in particular, the way he was able to lift the team, and not only him, there was a few others obviously as well. I mean, he was one that stood out in the centre bounce clearances in particular, and it's not as if he only does it once or twice. He's got a history of doing it, and a history of doing it in big games, and that's why he's a superstar. They're all pretty good. Yeah, they're all pretty good. Macca in the last minute and a half of the game looked as though he hurt his knee, but fortunately he's pulled up pretty well, so he's okay. Everyone else is all right, so we're fortunate to get out of the game with everyone getting a clean bill of health. Well, it's only important if you maximise it the right way, and we'll try and do the best we can with that. We'll have a lighter week on the track, even though it's a longer week for us, and we'll make sure that come Saturday night we're in the best possible shape physically and mentally as we can be, and that's our challenge, is to utilise that break and to make the most of it, and that's what we'll try and do. He trained yesterday, trained well, sat in my office and said he feels well. Whether we play him or not, we don't know yet. I mean, we'll have to see how he's going to train the rest of the week. We're certainly mindful of what he has and hasn't done. He hasn't done a lot of training. He hasn't obviously played for a long time. We also know he's a pretty special player, and a pretty specially mentally tough player in person. Whether that comes in the mix, we're not sure yet. We're not sure whether we'll play him. We've obviously got a couple in that boat. We need to make sure we get that balance right. Well, I think that just highlights what happens in finals games, is that anything can happen, and there's certainly no certainties, and you need to make sure you take your chances, and you need to play your best pressure football. I mean, that's really what stood out over the weekend. You need to play it for 4 quarters. We've probably, over the last 2 weeks, played a half in the weekend, 3 quarters the week before, and we weren't able to sustain it for 4 quarters. Our challenge this week is to sustain it for longer. To do it for 4 quarters, and that's what we look at. The mix and who plays where and who plays who doesn't really come into it. It's amazing. I remember Daniel Hannabury's first game. He was still going to school, and Ruzi was coach at the time, and we threw him up at match committee, and we then had to sit down and seriously consider whether we actually played a kid that was still going to school in Melbourne. We had to remind ourselves we actually live in Sydney, and he got a game when he was still going to school in Melbourne, which is quite extraordinary, really. And he got a game because we knew he was fit, we knew he was a massive competitor, and he wouldn't take a backward step. And that's what he's shown throughout his career to date, is that it's a pretty rapid, quick-fire 100 games of football. And it's a real credit to him to be able to start off his career as a schoolboy and to be playing 100 games so quickly. I think it's one of the more remarkable stories in football. Nick MALCESKI, 3 knee reconstructions, and to be still playing today and was in the All-Australian squad of 40 is a real credit to his mental strength and his ability to be able to overcome hurdles and still play consistent quality football. He's at his best a real quality rebounding halfback flanker, and one of the better ones in the competition when he's playing well. His run and carry is enormous, and we need that this week. Mainly just the fact that we didn't probably play that 2-way transition football that we play our best, and that's what we need to make sure we do this week, is get back to that. We thought the first half was a real typical competitive final with the pressure on from both sides, and then we didn't continue to apply the pressure that we know we can over the 4 quarters, and we played the best team in the competition this year. And we didn't play well for a half, and we need to make sure we play better for 4 quarters this week. There's pressure that applies to all teams that are at this time of the year. I mean, there's really only 2 teams better off than any other team at the moment. That's the 2 that are already in the prelim final. All the rest of us are trying to get there and are trying to play the best footy we can this weekend to try and get there next week. So we feel like we're all in the same boat, whether you've come from 9th, 8th or 4th in the ladder. It doesn't really matter. We get to this weekend. We've worked really hard to earn a double chance and a home final, and that's what we've got ahead of us.